Right, this is basis 1, and it's part 4, and we're on the second section of Sophia's testimony and witness statement. So we finished in the first section there with a death. Do you want to just recap on that?
Yes, that was the death was of my ex's uncle, who we believe is his natural father, because my ex-husband was trafficked as a baby, and his uncle, but his biological father, who officially is his uncle, who was in the same Freemasonic lodge as my natural father, because I was trafficked as a baby. Well, that man, his natural father, I'll call him that for the moment, he was in the same Freemason lodge as my natural father, and he was a hypnotherapist and a kinesiologist, and he helped people. He helped me when I was in hospital with some strange thing. I'd lost my swallow, and he came to visit me in hospital, and he said, "I'll treat you," and he put me on the path to Louise L. Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, and he said, you can heal yourself with your mind. He said he'd also see me free of charge and help me to heal. So he was telling me in a conversation how he wanted to change his life, leave, that type of thing, and he was also healing me. So he also did hypnotherapy on me, and it was almost like he was helping to break down the programming, brainwashing within me. And that really helped me to break down all this compartmentalization I had in my brain. And he showed me how to open up the little compartments where the memories were. Well, after he'd said to me, around about that time, after telling me he wanted to better his life, move on, that type of thing, he died very shortly afterwards. I think I said a week after. It wasn't a week, but he died very suspiciously after helping me. And as I say, this man was in the same Freemason lodge as my natural father. So also I had known this man since I was 4, since I moved into the UK, because he was in the same amateur dramatics group as my family. And again, he was in the same Freemason lodge as my natural father. So I'd known him since I was 4. My ex didn't meet him, well, his uncle, who was meant to be his natural father, left the family home when my ex was 4, and he moved down from Newcastle into the same home as his brother, my ex's uncle. This gentleman I'm talking about, he was a hypnotherapist. So yeah, he just died for very suspicious circumstances. He was treating someone, and apparently he just fell asleep and died. He wasn't an old man. He wasn't 90, 80. No, he was more about 62 maybe, 63 when he passed away. And I think it was more a case of they wouldn't let him go. They wouldn't let him go get out alive. So he passed away. His wife works for the what used to be known as the DSSS, Department of Social Security. She was very high up, and I believe she had tabs on me through my national insurance number. Plus, I believe they were using my records, my national insurance number, to cover up all the children, babies that were being born when these girls were being impregnated through abuse and things, because they didn't eat all the babies, but they would have some children that they needed to pass off, all with this child trafficking and everything. So she would meddle with the records and attach children to some of the girls that were available through their national insurance numbers. And the reason I think this is because I got a phone call from the Child Maintenance Service, I think it was the CSA, demanding that I pay for a child that I supposedly had. And I hadn't had a child at that point. I wasn't even married at that point. No, I was married, sorry. I'd just got married, and they were demanding money from me for a child I'd never had. I'd never gone into hospital and had a baby, and they were saying, well, I owed this amount of money, I think it was £10,000, and this baby was born, I think it was like in the 1990s or something, no, 80s, sorry. And I was like, well, I haven't had a baby, and just show me where this baby is and what age it is and what gender it is, and we'll see about me paying for this child. Then it was like, oh no, it's a mistake. And I believe that she was using the national insurance numbers of certain people, the victims of, say, the village, and attaching the children to these names. And I think this was a big mess up, and suddenly this came to me. So all of a sudden I had this child that I didn't have. I know that sounds very convoluted, but I think that's what it was. That was all part of putting children through the system that are being born in these tunnels or clinics or something where these girls are being abused and impregnated. And sometimes maybe not all the children are aborted, and also sometimes maybe they just use them for money, cash. They sell them and have them adopted, put through the care system. But as long as they've got a birth certificate and a mother with a national insurance number, they can just pass them through the system. So that's what I believe, that this lady was very high up in the Department of Social Security. So that's part of that as well. It's a better explanation of where these children are coming from and who they belong to. Meanwhile, they belong to no one. Perhaps, so that was that part, sorry. So that was this gentleman, like I say, he was a hypnotherapist, and I believe he did a lot of the abuse. They used hypnotherapy on the victims during the abuse, or the mind wiping, as I call it, to wipe out the minds. Apparently, I'm a very good candidate for hypnotherapy, for being hypnotised, and I've been to many. I went to a hypnotherapy show, and the hypnotherapist on the show, was on his stage shows, he tested me and he said, "You're an ideal candidate to be hypnotised."
In what way is there a test for that?
Well, it's like he did something. There was a group of people, and he did some kind of hypnotherapy there to test them, and like there'd be 6 of us, and he'd look down the row and he'd say, "Yeah, I'll have you are ideal candidates," and he sent the rest off the stage. But it was funny how he picked me, knowing my past and knowing that this man was the hypnotherapist who used to hypnotise the victims of with all the abuse and the satanic abuse and all those rituals, that type of thing. And again, with the hunting parties. And, you know, and also, like I say, wiping people's memories. And so, yes, so that was the connection with them. I think that's how they pass off the children that are born with, you know, in these should we call them the tunnels or places like that? Because I know there's clinics that they have. My family that put.
What sort of clinics are you talking about?
Well, my family.
This whole thing seems like a human slave trafficking.
It is.
System.
Yes, slavery. The family that purchased me had a clinic in Cornwall, Cornwall, and it was said to be a nursing home for pregnant women to have their babies. It was also said it was an abortion clinic. The cover was for women to go and, you know, convalesce after having babies and everything, when in actual fact it was an abortion clinic, or it was a clinic for unwed mothers to have babies so they could, you know, sell the babies on to someone else. It was
and who was buying these babies? Where was the market? Did you sort of advertise somewhere in some magazine?
They didn't advertise it anywhere, no.
So how are they sold? How does that all work out?
It was like...
Are they marketed?
They didn't quite market it like in magazines or anything. It was who you knew.
But there must be a way of choosing, I want that baby, I want this, and I want a specification, and how is it ordered?
It was
and
mainly
function?
for children that were being used for, like you had in the convents and in Ireland and places like that, where...
What do you mean, like we have?
Well, in the convents, I think it was convents and things where the nuns were found to be abusing the women. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they were using, and there was lots of babies, or they found dead bodies in a lot of these places.
Yeah, there was about 800 to 1,000 babies in one home, all suppressed. It was in the papers and then released.
And I can't remember if it was Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland.
It was, I think, the south.
The south.
And the MI5 and the Irish intelligence authorities allegedly collaborated to suppress all that after it was released, to basically silence it.
So it was kind of the same type of setup with this home, you call it home clinic, but they would do abortions, but back when abortions were illegal as well. But you see, we know that that's another way of getting adrenochrome, is aborting a baby. So they would make it, you can now sort of sedate the fetus, the baby, tell the mother, oh, the baby's a stillborn, it looks dead, and then they'd use that baby for the adrenochrome. So the mother, as far as she knows, this baby's dead. She sees it, it's dead. Meanwhile, they're going to harvest it, harvest the organs, harvest the body, and get the adrenochrome that way. And I believe...
What about loosh? The loosh of the energy field of the children.
Well,
and humans.
the loosh.
If that's the correct way of saying it.
The loosh is a very, very important, because it not only feeds the shape-shifting human aliens, it also feeds, I believe, the reptilians, all the kind of aliens, species, beings that we have on Earth and perhaps above the Earth and in deep underground. It's the energy. It's all about energy. So you have a baby being traumatized in the womb and then aborted. That's quite a lot of, if you like, energy, loose energy. Anger is another one, and then the mother who's all upset because the baby's died. That's loosh. Fear is another thing that feeds the loosh, creates loosh, and of course, then again, it creates adrenaline, which you can drink or you can inject or drink in blood. So yes, and I think with the home in Cornwall, Lou, the place is called Lou, there is like a tunnel system from going under the sea from Cornwall, from that way, tunnel system probably into Europe or could even be going to America, wherever, or even up to Antarctica. But all along the coast of Britain, there's probably tunnel systems going to all sorts of directions of the planet. So that's a good way of transporting these children that are babies that are being born. So you're saying who orders them? Well, it's probably the groups that put in an order, and then they transport these babies through these supposed tunnels.
They're not sort of submarine systems.
Or submarines, yes.
But I mean, do you have any personal direct experience of all that? I mean, do you have something which you can materially define as your personal witness, as this is a sort of a witness statement we're doing here?
The submarines?
Yeah.
Yes. There was this submarine. It's not like when you go to somewhere like Orlando or in America to the SeaWorld or something, and there's this like submarine thing that you can look out the windows and everything. A submarine we're looking at is more like a torpedo missile that goes shooting into the sea from the ship.
Are you talking little mini subs?
Yeah, mini subs. Yes, more like a torpedo. Probably not as enough for humans to sit in, but inside it's more like inside these subs, if you could like, is like.
But they must have a very short range.
Well, as I say, it goes very far. It's like the trains. The trains go in these tunnels and stuff. These submarine pod things are very fast. Yeah, not like our clunky submarines that we have, that the navies have and everything around the world. No, these are much more, not as clunky as that.
What do you mean by
much more
clunky?
Streamlined. Well, the submarines we have with the navies and things, they're very big, cumbersome, noisy, and of course they've got to hold lots of men or women. And missiles, that type of thing. So we're not talking like a submarine like that. We're talking like a pod thing.
Have you seen the Star Trek?
Like an escape pod thing.
Like the torpedoes, photon torpedoes they have in Star Trek. They're sort of more of a streamlined.
I haven't seen them, but what I saw.
Is it like something like a streamlined coffin thing?
Yeah, what I saw was more like I'm going to say torpedo type thing, missile thing, very streamlined, just cuts through the water. Yeah, it just cuts through the water. Like the submarines that the navies use are, like I say, very clunky and metal and things. These are very more like
But I mean, how do they get powered? I mean, how do these things actually function? I'm looking at it from an engineering point of view. Well, obviously the range can't be that far if they're going to do that.
When you say the range?
Well, I mean, they must be going to some other local environment somewhere where, there's a bigger submarine or something waiting just offshore or somewhere.
Yes, so it's
how are they picked up? I mean, a torpedo's only got a couple of miles.
Well, it had motorised, so it was like a motor. I'm describing like a torpedo, the way they go shoot, cut through the water. But obviously it was a bit more, it was big enough to hold people in. And
I mean, one or two or what? Lying
well,
down,
it was like you'd have seats in there. So you'd have three this way, opposite each other. Yeah. again, like a decompression tank that you have when divers decompress from diving.
Yeah. So they're sitting opposite each other.
Sitting opposite each other, yes. And you've got the door that just seals in, seals like a decompressing tank type of thing, yeah. And that would be, they would, like I say, cut through the water like a torpedo. That's the best way I can equate that to. And it would go quite far. I mean, you're saying they'd go quite far into the water. And quiet, very quiet as well. Not so much...
Would they be able to leave the water and sort of like fly up?
They're able to do that, yes, because they've got to get up onto the land.
During a storm, there was a UFO scene. Everybody was looking at the recent storms in Cornwall, I think, and there were a lot of smashing waves and all that sort of stuff. But actually, there was a projectile, tiny little elliptical device, which flew out of the water, and
well, they have to. They go through the water, but they have to have the ability. They have the ability to come out of the water and fly up out of the water to land on land, as it were, because they can't always go into tunnels and openings around the coast. Sometimes they have to get up out of the water. And land and have a landing.
One of these? Have you actually been in one of them?
Yes, I have.
So what's it like? Are you strapped in? What are the colours? Again, I'm looking for things like details, labels, instrument panels, buttons, or stuff like that, which can describe sort of level of technology you were dealing with.
Well, there'd be she call it like a driver or a pilot, compartments at the front. And then a bit like an aeroplane, you got the, should say, cockpit, and then behind is where the seats are facing each other this way. Then you've got the door to come and get in and out of this pod thing.
I have to say, it sounds very like Star Trek Enterprise, because they have shuttle pods which leave the thing, but it's only very small, very manoeuvrable.
Well,
door at the side.
This would hold like you'd have 6 seats this way, 6 seats that way. So that's 12 people, children as well, because there was also places to put like carry cot type things for the babies.
Well, this is very like what James Casbolt described off the coast of Cornwall, and they would face each other. He called them, I think they were underwater TR-3Bs or whatever, triangular things. But that description fits James Casbolt a lot.
Well, there'd be like belts to strap in. And then, like I said, there's, I call it a carry cot, but something to hold the baby in, like a carry cot. They would be stacked up against the wall, like... tiered like this, stacked up, one on top of each other, strapped in seat belts to transport babies from one place to another. And then you've got the seats for different various size seats for adults, children, that type of thing, with the seat belt things. And inside it was just kind of like there was like a steering wheel to lock the door on the inside, like I say, decompressing tank thing, and labels and things. It was more.
Were there labels in German?
Actually, French. Various languages. There was French, German, Russian, Hungarian, and English.
It's interesting that you mentioned Hungarian. I mean, the point is that how many people would know the difference between Russian and Hungarian? Why Hungarian? Why not Romanian? I mean, why Hungarian? Where does that come from?
Well, sorry, there was a lot of Hungarians who would be in these bases, and well, I knew it was Hungarian. I don't know why, I just knew it was Hungarian. For somehow I could understand Hungarian, I could understand Russian, I could understand Afrikaans, I could understand French, and quite a lot of languages actually. And I could understand, I don't know why the Hungarian, but there was a lot of Hungarians that were part of the bases and these pod things and stuff, and actually these.
What about the Ukrainian?
Yeah, a lot of Ukraine. Yeah, and Serbian, unless Serbia's still around, but Serbian, but a lot of Russian, and it was almost like the buttons inside, or the buttons inside the pod and everything. There was always different languages, and Greek, and there was like, I'm going to say Greek. It looked Greek, but it could have been more sort of hieroglyphic type writing, or that
Egyptian?
type of it. Egyptian with
Ancient Egyptian.
Roman.
Roman.
So it was Egyptian, Roman numerals, Roman, Egyptian, like hieroglyphics, images. That's the shapes, shapes and things, and I don't quite know why they needed all these different languages. And Chinese. Yeah, there was Chinese, and so. Yes, so yes, what was I saying? Yes, these pod things, that was what was inside. We had the emergency writing in case there was an accident or something, just like you'd have in probably a decompressing tank, or in a submarine probably, and or an airline. And there's sort of emergency levers to alarm things. And there weren't any windows. There was no windows. You couldn't see out of it or anything, unless you look through to the should we say cockpit. There would be a big window screened thing there for the pilot, or whatever you want to call the person who would drive this thing.
Were you travelling in tunnels and then leaving into the wider ocean, or
yes.
Were you flying? Could you see flying, or did you see stars? Was it capable of star flight?
Yes, it would be. There would once. Yes, sometimes it would go up above the Earth's atmosphere into space. Yes.
So we're not really talking about a torpedo with propellers at one end.
No. It's more like a pod thing.
Which is why
but
I
it cuts through the water like a torpedo.
The Star Trek Enterprise series with their pods.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's worth having a look. There's a lot in that.
The only thing I can think of is like Thunderbirds. I know it's a puppet show, but don't they have like a submarine type thing that
they have
goes
a
into the
yellow
water
one.
and comes out again?
Thunderbird 4.
Or is it Captain? I don't know. One of them.
Well, there's a lot in those TV series. Jerry Anderson had a lot of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. People should look at those, bearing in mind going back to the 1960s and 70s. And he did do a whole series on UFO.
Oh, right.
He did a series called UFO, and again, that's repeated along with the series V and Sapphire and Steel on the Forces Network.
Right. Because it's like that's the best. I haven't seen the Star Trek. Did you say Star Trek?
A Star Trek Enterprise. It was a series from 2001 to 2005, and there's a lot in that subject. There's a lot in there.
I haven't seen the pod things you talk about, all the submarines that go under the water from Star Trek.
Well, they're the pods which they use to leave the Enterprise to go down are that sort of size, and bearing in mind a lot of the other material in Star Trek Enterprise that there's a lot in there, including the detail in the reptilian and insectoid creatures, which are the other types of ET. There's a lot of detail in there, as if they've got it from somewhere real.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, they would, what was it I was saying? Yeah, sorry. So that would be the submarine sub things they were using to get around the planet and go outer atmosphere above Earth. Okay, and probably the moon.
What can you tell us about the moon?
Well, you know wormholes through space and everything. They do exist. There are kind of like tunnels going into space. I think it was Hawkins who said about, is it wormholes that you can travel through. That's not a lie. You can travel through a wormhole in space to get to the different planets, like, I don't know, Mars or Moon, that type of thing. I do believe there is a base on the Moon.
What makes you think that?
Because I have memories of going on the Moon. I know it sounds strange, but I do have memories of going on the Moon. And then I have memories of Mars. I do have memories of Mars. Being on Mars.
Give us some details. Give us some details about those two different places.
Well, it was like going through what I'd say the wormhole. You see diagrams of it on television and movies.
I'm looking at what the mountains look like. Is the atmosphere there? What colours are the sky? All of them. I'm talking about the moon as well, because it's meant to have an atmosphere.
Right, moon.
From your perspective, what did you
From my
actually
perspective, has an atmosphere. In a way, it's almost like it can't. It's like you have to. It's like it's not like he's got like Earth atmosphere. It's a bit different to that. Because it's like on the surface of the moon. Because really, you have to go into the moon. So on the top, there's nothing. But if you go in, that's where you can breathe. That's where you can live like you would on Earth.
And what's the colour of
artificial atmosphere?
What's the colour of the rock? What's the colour of the magnificent devastation, as I think Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin referred to it?
What, the moon?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't quite understand your question.
What's the colour of what's the colour?
Like,
is it basically all a blue circle cement all spread around the place? Because it was shown on the TV and the lunar stuff. It's basically everything monochrome, grey, like cement. But
it's not as grey as...
There are talk of other colours there.
It's not as grey as cement. No, it's there's all sorts of colours. We can't pick it up. Well, we're not shown these colours, but it's all sorts of colours.
But what did you witness?
It's like multicoloured, as it were. You know, it's not like just all grey, dead. No, there's like greens and blues and things like that. You know, and
in other words, like a rocky landscape in the Rockies or mountains here. Or what?
I'm trying to think about on Earth what would equate it to the moon. Yeah, more like a desert terrain. The Rockies in America, that kind of thing. When I lived in Oman, now their terrain is a bit more like the moon terrain. Oman, there's you've got the desert, which is really, really hot. There's lots of mountains in Oman, and I'm going to say it's more like that environment. To equate it to Earth, maybe not so much the Rockies, but more like what I say Oman, with which you could say Middle East then, because I've never been to Saudi.
An arid mountains.
Arid mountains, yes.
As opposed to the Rockies.
Oman is very different to the Rockies, yeah, because Oman is very Arab as well.
The Rockies is wet.
Yeah. Oman is definitely not that. It rains once a year or something.
I mean, can you walk around on the surface, or do you need a?
Well, it seems you go in So it's a bit more.
But are we talking clunky spacesuit stuff, or just a thing
No.
with a minor?
No, there's nothing like that. No, and it's
Basically a heavy tracksuit with some kind of oxygen gear, or what? Or do you need that on the moon?
It's like you see, you go into under. It goes through a door. Well, not a door. Goes through a thing, and then
An airlock
it's like
or something.
Airlock. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. You go in there, and then in the middle, in the centre of the moon, that's where the environment is. So some people would say, well, the centre of the Earth, we have another environment under there. It's the same on the moon. Yeah, it's the same on the moon. You've got the surface, but and underneath that is the environment where people can live.
Is it like an aero bar, or small pockets, or big giant caves, or?
It's like there's cities.
And what do the cities look like?
It's like, well, how can I put it? It's just like you've got they have green plants in there, that type of thing. Like a very expensive environment, like you get at exclusive places, like some kind of resort on Earth. You know, you've got these exclusive clubs.
I mean,
and
is
stuff
this
like that.
where the elite actually
It's the elite,
live?
yes.
Do the elite live there? Which means they don't give a damn about what's happening here. They can wipe this place out,
yeah.
and they have a very nice
it's a
situation
very nice
going
environment
on the moon.
But there's also prisons on the moon as well. So you've got the prison. I never went to the prison, but then you've got the elite area where people live, and city, like I say, cities and things. And then you've got like there's a prison part of the moon where people are kind of go there as well, sort of thing, off-planet prisons, if you see what I mean.
And
so
what
you've
sort
got
of other
half and half. The dark side of the moon is where the elites go. You think it's all dark, it's not dark, and that's where all the art, the life is, and the prison part is on the other side of the moon, not the dark side of the moon.
In other words, the side of the moon which is facing us. Obviously.
Facing us, yes, facing the Earth. And it's very high tech. The elite side of the moon is very high tech, more than we have here.
We're talking mile high glass crystals towers.
Yes, like high skyscrapers type things. High towers, that type of thing. And then you've got the prison side, like I said, I never really saw that. I knew that it was there, but then you've got the elite side of, I'm going to call it the elite side of the moon, where the rich, the higher ups, if you like, live and trade, and they have shops, shopping, but it's not money. It's not like money here. Tokens, like plastic tokens type thing. But it's much more high tech on that side of the moon. The elite side of the moon.
Sophia, what I want to figure out here is, are you daring to suggest that what we've been shown on the TV and on the movies about the moon is not quite what you say it is?
No, it isn't. This is not what we're led to believe. I mean, why do you think we're not going back there?
Did we ever go there?
Probably not.
We mean probably not. We don't want to have probables here. We want to have definites.
No, I don't. No, that landing was false. It was a cover to make people believe that, that's what's there, to hide the truth, because they've been going back and forth from the Earth to the moon for centuries, maybe? I don't know the time frame. So the moon landings, if you like, is just a a false representation
we're
of the
dealing with
truth.
something right now where we're dealing with disclosure. It's all happening. There's the Pentagon giving us all this information, like the tic-tac-toe, what do you call them? Those little objects. Are you suggesting that, the tic-tac? Are you familiar with those UFOs?
The tic-tac-toe UFOs?
Yeah, the little small things. They're a little like the sweets, the breath fresheners.
Oh, yes.
Tic-tac.
Mm-hmm.
Except
tic-tacs,
those
yes.
sort of things flying around.
Mm-hmm.
Are you suggesting those sort of things are like what your pods were talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pods. It's you see, the pods can be faster.
Yeah, these tic-tac things are flying around like blazes.
They can fly faster.
The big story in UFO thing. That's so.
And they use up less energy. And it's like it's a different type. How they're powered. It's not like fuel. It's more like a Tesla type energy. It's kind of like energy, using energy from the perhaps magnets. It's all about magnets and things.
But, you're not a skilled engineer who would know what these things are.
No.
Could you tell us what it is if you knew it, or if you saw it?
What I saw,
phrase that better.
it was I just knew about the magnet energy because they used to talk about it. My family.
I think there's a technique called maglev.
Yes, my family used to talk about the magnet energies, that type of thing, because don't forget they had that laser drill to drill through the earth and tunnels, that type of thing. They use lasers, lots of lasers for things as well, but it's all to do with the energy and the magnets, magnetic forces or magnetic energy around us, magnetic energy from the sun, and I don't know about Tesla, if that's what he had kind of developed. I don't know, but it's almost like
there's a patent which has been suppressed for 120 years, which involves a turbine and a compressing set of discs which spin very fast, and that takes water moisture from the air and runs it on a cold steam principle.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had guys from Plymouth that talk about that.
Right.
But I don't think that would necessarily be what you're talking about. I don't think it's.
I just remember them magnets, and it would be
magnetic drive or something.
Yes, magnetic drive to drive things. Yes.
Have you heard of a thing called a Mercury drive?
Mercury drive. I haven't heard.
Mercury engines. No.
No.
Okay, well, this is about your personal experience, your actual personal experience. There's a film called The Men in the Moon, which was, I think, made in the 60s. That shows. They use some kind of magnetic or gravity drive in the sphere, but the point is they illustrated the things about underground, in the moon, air, all that sort of stuff.
Oh.
And it looked like a dinosaur, an ancient world like that, with the big creatures and things like that. I mean, is there anything like that? Are you talking about?
What, the creatures? Yes, creatures.
I mean, animal life, big creatures.
Yeah, because it's under the surface of.
So it's full of life.
Space Odyssey 2021. No, was it that one? Excuse me if I get the wrong film.
The original 2001: A Space Odyssey. Mm-hmm. But then they came back in, I think, 2029, didn't they?
The original film.
Yeah, the original from 2001, Space Odyssey.
The one with, is it Al?
Yeah.
Okay. He's living on the spaceship. Hal.
Yeah.
And he's living on the spaceship and everything, and they've got they're growing all the garden, growing flower plant life on that ship. Okay, it was very like that, but there's still greenery, it's still like forests and things, greenery and things like that, and they've got a lot of plants, food that's being grown is a hydroponic
yeah.
through water and stuff, water, growing food and plant life through the hydroponics. Yeah, there's a lot of that as well. It's like a greenery. There's a lot of greenery everywhere, actually.
But I mean, it seems as if you've been given a grand tour of the place from the point of view of actually telling us what's actually there.
Sorry.
Have you were you sort of brought around, shown everything, and then come and tell the basis project, or what is that what it is?
I wasn't brought. No. It's kind of like to go there because it's as I say, you get the you were ordered. There's an ordering system, so it's to be ordered to go somewhere to be abused. So you've got the elite, the rich, having ordered people, children, whatever, to come there to be abused. Very sadistic. Some people wouldn't survive that because whoever was abusing them would kill them as part of the abuse.
And are those humans that are doing the abuse? Or
no, not just humans.
What type? Tell us more.
It was some alien beings. I'm going to call them alien but what else do I call them? And they would get a kick out of it, or they'd use it to get energy, the loose, or whatever it is they were trying to get from this. So I wasn't kind of given a grand tour of my surroundings or anything. It's what I saw being taken to places there to be abused. So
again, languages, how do they look like?
Well, you'd have again the blue aliens, the
what are you calling it? There's a phenomenon called blue-grey. Greys, or are they blue-skinned human people?
Human
they
people,
look just like humans,
but
they've
human
got blue
people.
Skin.
Yeah, blue skin. The whites. They would just, and reptilian type as well, but it's almost like you'd be chosen to go there. I have a feeling I was went there as a sort of prize possession, because perhaps of my father, I don't know. But they would it was like depending on what kind of children they were. It could have been children or teenagers that were teenagers of no name, no parents. They just were bred to be abused wherever they were ordered to go to.
Were they bred on the same farms that you referred to in Africa?
No, not the same farms where I was. These were sort of more hidden underground, and there are women, girls that are just having babies to just be used for this, like slavery, like you said, slavery. And they're made pregnant, and then it's like a puppy farm, isn't it? It's like breeding puppies or animals, yeah. And they would just get women pregnant, girls pregnant, to just have the babies as a stock. It's farm stock. And that's and then they're ordered that type of thing. But there again, also, these children are just put onto the earth, or they're shipped off to the moon, or shipped off to wherever they've been ordered. The orders come from.
Such as?
Well, like Mars. I know Mars is a place where it's very different to what we know Mars is, what we're shown.
Such
'Cause there's
as,
life
what
in
sort of
Mars.
difference? I mean, we know there's a blue sky on Mars, all that stuff about the
There's-
blue gun on the when the Viking lander happened. They all got blue pictures published on the front page of New Scientist way back when
Well,
the
there's-
Viking landers landed. They had a blue sky, and they had to say, "Well, there's a problem."
Well, there
So,
is
what is Mars like? Tell us all about Mars.
Mars is like Earth, only probably a bit more like there is greenery there, different kind of plant life and things. There's weather, there's clouds. It's not quite like what was shown on movies and things, and it can be hot. Yes, it's a very like, should we say, in America, like the Grand Canyon kind of, is it not Texas perhaps, but Arizona. Yes, thank you. It's Arizona.
I mean, there's places in, I think, eastern California, which is 5,000 feet up, and everything below is a desert, but 5,000 feet up, it's like a little paradise.
Mm-hmm.
You've got trees suddenly start growing at 5,000 feet,
mm-hmm.
and the weather below, if you go down, it's desert because it's too hot.
Well, it's very like it's very variable. You've got because obviously it's very big, so you've got like you've got the desert areas, and then the green, and there's people living there. There's people farming there. Like we do on Earth, they farm. There's fields of growing food and things like that. So yes, there's cities on Mars. There's people living there. Not quite.
And have they been there a long time? Have they?
Yeah.
Been, because there's a lot of people.
A very long time.
And they
were there
some kind
first.
of devastation.
They were there first, before we came here, as it were. So they were there a long time ago.
Tell us all about Mars.
Well, Mars.
Actually, we're coming up to 54 minutes on this. Why don't we leave Mars for part C in this?
Okay.
Do you think that would be a good thing? And
Yes.
We'll talk all about Mars, the farms on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a quick break on that, and thank you for the moment. Okay, Sophia, we're just having a break doing part 4, and we're talking about Mars, and you're saying this beautiful picture of Sedona, the wonderful mountains of Sedona, looks like Mars.
Yes, this is what this is very like the Mars landscape I saw. And there is the running water, but also in other areas there's fields of crops as well. But this is more of the away from more of the how can I put it, away from the human inhabitants or light or beings and things, like the national parks here really. And so that's what I remember.
Now that's a mountain area 5,000 feet above sea level at Sedona, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's very beautiful.
It certainly is.
And yes, it's very beautiful, and so this is very like one of the craft that.
Now this is a visual representation by Philippa Foster of the Rendlesham Forest UFO events. Now you're saying you've got familiar with them.
This craft, like this kind of craft, it's like the craft I was taken in to above the earth, taken into space. It's where I was asked, do you want to go back or do you want to go home? And I said I have to go back. I haven't finished yet. And this looks like there's no windows. There is windows all around here, but you can't see in, but you can see out. When you're inside, you can see out. You can see it's like windows all around. But from here, it looks like there's nothing. But if you go in, you can look out the windows that are there. So no one can see in, but you can see out. that's the best way of describing it. These I've seen before, but
Again, this is another painting by Philippa Foster,
but I've seen
who's the wife of Alan Foster, and those are jellyfish-type beings on this picture here.
And then I've seen some craft, like the craft in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You know, when they came in that film, those craft as well. And this picture here is a very good. It's very like.
Now this is a postcard from the Roswell exhibition, and you're saying what about that?
It's very like when I was in this craft here. It's very like that. There was everyone, all the beings standing around, and they were asking me, "Do you want to go back or do you want to go home?" And it wasn't just greys like that. There were some tall aliens, the blondes really, who were quite tall, asking me, do I want to go back or do I want to go home? Showing me another planet. Showing me Earth, do I want to go back or do I want to go to home, which is the other planet, which is a lot greener than Earth. Much greener than Earth.
And you mentioned about the attitude that they have towards the Earth, because the reptilian, what sort of insectoid is just going to wipe the Earth out?
So
they don't give it.
Basically, the I'm going to say the negative reptilian type dark aliens, should we say? They're like locusts. They just want to consume, and then move on. So they'll wipe the planet clean of life, of everything, and then just move on to the next one, because that's all they're here for, is just to consume, destroy, and move on, like locusts, like locusts really.
But do they look like locusts, or how do they look in a human form? Or
they're more like more like the reptilian type looking species, should we say. A lot more aggressive.
Draco?
Very aggressive. Yeah, probably Draco, yes. I haven't seen any paintings or pictures of Draco. They're very like dark crystal type creatures.
That's a TV series, or is it
The
film?
Dark Crystal film, the original film.
Okay.
And they're more like, beaks and everything. And they just monstrous, really.
Big feckers.
Very big. And they're just here to consume and destroy until they've used up all the resources, and then they move on to the next planet or go somewhere else. And that's what they want. That's what their whole.
And is that on Mars or where?
Well, they're here now, destroying here, and then they're going to move on to the next planet.
And they've taken over our governments or whatever.
Yes, they take over the governments and stuff, and kind of use. They use the governments, the humans, as puppets. They attach at the back of the head to sort of get the puppet, i.e. say Prime Minister, President, to do their bidding. So they.
Have you seen the movie Hellraiser?
No.
Right,
there's
a thing attached to the back of the head there.
It's like attached to the back of the head.
What attaches?
It's like a. Alien the movie.
Yeah.
The Alien the movie, well, it attaches on the face, that thing.
Yeah.
It attaches at the back of the head. It's invisible.
Like a spider?
Yes, like a spider, yeah.
Because I have somebody who has a drawing of that. We could maybe look at that later.
Okay, because all I can say is like Alien, the film with Sigourney Weaver and everything, and it sucks onto people, right? It's this thing that sucks on the back of the head, and then uses the human as a puppet to do the bidding. So it's not like the human has any say in this at all.
Yeah, Now, we are in a very important day. A new organisation called ICER, International Committee of Extraterrestrial Research, has publicly made itself known.
Right.
And we're dealing with this disclosure thing and the Pentagon and all that sort of stuff. Any of that correct, or what? Do you think that's a load of what?
I don't think it's a load of rubbish, no.
What do you think
It's
about
about
it?
time it should come out.
Is the right stuff coming out?
I hope so. I hope
Now, one of the things we just mentioned was tic-tac-toe, these little
tic-tacs.
tic-tac UFOs. You're suggesting that, I think we've just recorded that in part 4, I think the second part B of part 4 of Basis 1, that the tic-tac torpedo type pods are actually the things that are used to ship people up to the moon and Mars and portals and things.
Through the wormholes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's what they're called.
So that's sort of human technology that they're using to ship us out somewhere. It's not human, but alien,
It's
human,
alien
or ancient.
technology
Yeah.
given to the humans. Or they're using humans as puppets, and then they're giving them the information.
And you've been in one of those things,
Yes, one of those things. Yes.
like a tic-tac.
Pod thing. Yes. Like I said, there's no windows. Like on the,
But that's
no
a completely
windows.
different. That's a triangular
Different
one.
Yes, but there's no windows on the outside. So if you're looking at it flying around, there's no windows. But on the inside, you can see out. Yeah, like that.
Well, let's get part C of part 4, section C, part 4, breaking it up into hours. Anything else there that you like to talk about?
No.
Like the secret space, the integrated plan for space, leaving the solar system.
Well, I do believe they want to leave our solar system. Yes. And
After they've eaten us and cleaned the place dry.
yeah, because they're preparing Mars now for everyone for people to go, or humans to go there. So when they've destroyed Earth, they've got another planet to go to. They've been doing that for, I don't know, very long time.
So they're just having farmed us and eaten us and wiped this planet out.
Humans are farm stock. Humans are just farm stock.
And then they're going to replace the species here and start off with a new crop. Is that right?
They're probably going to just get rid of us, destroy humans, whatever, take what they need, and then scorch earth policy, scorch the earth, destroy. That's what they'll probably want to do.
Any hints on how we can stop this? Little sneaky bits of information you might be able to just let us know now.
Start getting knowledge, start understanding, start believing in the fact that there's more to what you know. That there is information coming out all the time in the movies. Pre-programming us to, and then everyone thinks, oh, it can't be real because that's just a movie. No. Get away from that way of thinking. You know, you have to rise your thinking to another level and realise there's more than you'll ever know out there. There's more than anyone will ever know. But we have such cognitive dissonance. Humans have such cognitive dissonance. We're so protective of our system, of the system that we've been given, that we'll kill others to protect the system because that's what they want us to do. And then not only that, there is another race of aliens, which is what I would say they're the Archons, which can't live on Earth. They'd rather destroy the Earth as well. And they're kind of like our puppet masters as well. The puppet masters they feed off the loose, they feed off the negative energy that they create. And the humans are very susceptible to believing in the negative and not the positive. And that's what's keeping them going, keeping them alive. The Archons.
Thanks.
So who did this?
This is the Rockwell International thing about the integrated space program going back to February 1989, and it's very, very complicated, but the idea is with all this happening, we leave the solar system at the bottom. Human expansion into the cosmos.
Who commissioned that? Who paid?
This is a whole series of companies and people who've put a lot of stuff together, and this is the smallest size. You can look at this without...
Sorry, is that the powers that be?
Yes, this is produced by Ronald M. Jones, and it's Rockwell Integrated Space Program, ISP.
So that's the elite's plan.
So that's all the different countries with different space programs, and this goes back to 1983 and ends in 2100 when we leave. The 3-planet system, they call the moon a planet, so the 3-planet system is Mars, Venus, and the moon. And that's the integrated space program between all those things. 2023, tri-planet, there it is, tri-planet, Earth, Moon, Mars, infrastructure enabled, human expansion into the inner solar system. Human expansion, human.
And then that's 2023. So, I didn't mention the vaccines because you might get it banned.
Okay, well, on that happy little note, interlude, we'll have a coffee and a ciggy and say hello to the pussycat because it looks very alarmed after what you've just said. Okay.